Traci from California. You're on with Traci and Aron Ra.
How do you do?
Hello, Traci. Hello, Aron.
Yeah, and we spoke before.
Yes, you remembered me, and I am thrilled to talk to not only you, but Aron, the man himself. Hooray.
I'm sitting... Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, guys, yeah, I heard the previous call, and this is obviously not why I called, but Aron, I wanted to offer my sincerest condolences on your granddaughter. I sat here and almost cried because I lost my fiance.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. No, take your time. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I swore I wasn't going to get emotional, but he'll have been gone 15 years this month.
It sneaks up on you. Sometimes you think you're okay, and then you start to talk, and it just comes out.
I'd still, it's been, my granddaughter died the same week that Christopher Hitchens died, to give you some, to give you some scale on that. And it's not something I can talk about still.
Yeah.
Right. I understand. Totally. I just, but at least, Traci, I'm glad. I think it's your ex-husband.
Yes.
I'm glad that he's okay.
I am too. He's a great person.
That's awesome. And it kind of leads into why I'm calling today, because the last few times I called, I spoke about my fear of hell, but this week I wanted to switch gears and talk about heaven.
All right.
And Aron, this, if you don't want me to talk about this, is this going to upset you? Are you okay?
Why would it upset me?
I think she's thinking about your granddaughter.
No, your granddaughter.
No, it's not going to. It can't upset me. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, on one hand, I know that getting rid of my fear of hell with my anxiety disorder, because I actually suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with that.
I understand what it is, yeah.
Yeah. And the fear of hell causes me a great deal of distress. So, I'm thinking to myself, if I could stop worrying and obsessing about the people that I love burning for eternity, then
Can I help you with that?
Concept of...
I don't mean to interrupt so early, and I don't want to presume so much. But in my journey out of Christianity as a young person, hell was the first thing I dropped. And I dropped that first because a God who really existed would not require a hell, would not have invented a hell, would not implement a hell. The only reason to threaten people with the stick and the carrot, if you believe what we say and give us 10% of your income, then we promise that whatever horrible turmoil you have to survive, you'll be rewarded for in the next life. That's a scam. That's the carrot. And then it's followed by the stick. That anybody that isn't gullible enough to buy into the scam will face literally a fate worse than death. Of the most eternal torment and terror that we can possibly imagine. There's no reality to that. A God who really existed wouldn't have that. The only reason that hell exists is because hell exists in the minds of people who want to create this false dichotomy of the furthest extremes they can possibly imagine, the stick and the carrot, to make you believe and threaten you if you don't. There's no possibility of hell. If you'd like to, I did a video called "Give the Devil His Due," and if you like, I'd invite you to watch that video as a presentation that I did actually in honor of a satanic organization. Strangely enough.
Oh.
But I'm being completely truthful that in all logic that I could understand, while I still believed in God at that time, I had to reject hell. And hell isn't even supported in the Bible, honestly. The Christian concept of hell was taken from Dante's Inferno. It was not taken from the Bible because the Bible describes Sheol. It's virtually the same thing as Hades, where everybody dies, no matter whether they were good or bad, no matter what of their deeds of their life. They all go into the land of the dead, where they remain dead souls, and they don't do anything. So there's no reality in hell, even in your own scriptures.
That's good to know, and I'll look up Dante's Inferno.
I want you to be aware that...
You might not want to look up Dante's Inferno.
Oh, no?
If you're already scared of hell, you might want to skip that one.
You remember that Dante built this up. It was one of the Christian interpretations of what was supposed to happen in the afterlife if you didn't believe. Because in Revelations, it says that Jesus himself was going to be crushing people, crushing the unbelievers in a what was that, wine press that was going to flow,
yeah, I think so,
knee deep in blood around the world. This is the loving God that the previous caller was talking about, who's going to be crushing anybody who doesn't believe. Why is there such a crime against belief? Why isn't it about actions?
I know.
So whether you're damned or not has nothing to do with whether you're a good or bad person, and I bring this up all the time. According to Christianity, all sins will be forgiven if you but believe. But if you don't believe, then it doesn't matter what a great person you might have been, because the only sin that will not be forgiven is the sin of disbelief. And that is because the whole thing is a scam. You're supposed to believe what they tell you and then do everything they tell you and be their minion and pay them 10% of your tithe, or you suffer the fate worse than death, or you'll be threatened with that. My wife was raised a diehard Christian, and she had nightmares about hell, about being forsaken by Jesus for years after. It's just something that we psychologically go through. I still have dreams where I have to fight off zombies and things like that I know can't really exist. But for her, it's being forsaken by Jesus, where Jesus comes up and tells her, you did not witness before me, so I forsake. And now she's facing shadow demons and stuff like this. This is part of the mental conditioning of the way that you were raised. And I don't know any other way to put it to you, but that there's no truth to it, nor any possibility of truth to it. And there's certainly no scriptural support for it. That was actually taken from the Zoroastrian belief but it was something that many of the biblical scholars say that Judaism was influenced more by Zoroastrianism than by any other religion. So they accept that Judaism was influenced by another religion that they don't consider to be true. But one of the things that skipped Judaism and was later adopted by Christianity was the idea of being judged in the afterlife. Because in Zoroastrianism, they used to say that the righteous man would ascend into heaven under Ahura Mazda, the just and righteous God. So they would rise to the kingdom of justice and truth. But that the wicked man would descend into the kingdom of the lie, ruled by Ahriman the opposer. And Ahriman the opposer in the Zoroastrian religion had another name. The opposer was pronounced Hashatan, Satan. So the Satan character that exists in Christianity was taken from Zoroastrianism. It's all mythology. There's no truth to any of it. None of it is real. That doesn't help you on a dark night when you're all alone. You still have nightmares. I have nightmares from when I used to watch The Shining as a little boy. Yeah. There are irrational things that go on in our mind, and you'll still be afraid of these things, even when you know they can't be real. But there's no truth to it. There really isn't. All I can do is attest to you. There is no hell. Satan had the first question that I had when my mother, when I was a little kid, my mother was telling me about Satan wanting to deceive me and all like this. I remember asking her, "What is his motivation?" And of course, she can't tell me because it's so one-dimensional that it does not bear any critical scrutiny at all.
Yeah, it's like, I think that the idea, right, is that he just hates God so much that he wants to take the souls away. It's like a football game, right? Like, it's like, oh, I got the extra point with that one, and, you know.
Doesn't that pit Satan against God in a strange sort of game, or where Satan ends up working for God?
It wasn't Job is just a game, right? It was a gamble.
Yeah, and this is where God said, the devil made me do it.
Interesting.
But you're calling to talk about heaven.
Traci, did I just go completely off track?
That's quite all right. I'm on the phone with Aron and Traci. This is so cool.
So what is it with heaven?
With heaven. Okay, well, with heaven, all right. If I stop believing in hell, because I appreciate everything Aron said, but I'm not quite there yet.
Okay.
I might start questioning heaven, and I hadn't ever I've never considered letting go of the idea of heaven, and currently it's causing me a great deal of distress because, just like you, I've lost some pretty important people, and I cannot imagine never seeing them again.
No, I understand.
You know, I need to believe, and I know you both have heard that before, but it's like, I have to see them again. I've been told I'd see them again. It's a comfort.
I've heard that a few times, and with all sincerity.
Yeah. I don't know what to do.
I don't think that there's much that you can do for people who are already gone, right? Like, I think that we're all old enough here that we have lost people.
Yeah, and anything I could say about heaven, I remember my grandmother, her justification for why she believed in heaven literally came down to this. She said the streets are made of gold. As if that would compel me to believe what she believed. And that we would all live in mansions.
Right. But, I mean, what Traci's saying, though, is if I let go of heaven, I let go of the only hope of ever seeing these people that I've lost ever again.
And it's like losing them all over again.
This is the brutal truth. We don't have anything to offer to replace that. When I realized, I mean, for the longest time in my life, I thought that we were reincarnate beings, that there was a life force in all living things that would transcend the death of the physical being to appear again in some other maybe dimension or some other body or in some other world or what have you. And I didn't have the conventional belief because I was a neo-pagan idiot who was raised in the wrong influences entirely. But when I realized that there was no truth to anything that I believed, I felt that I had cheated myself by believing in complete nonsense for all this time. And we don't have another, we can't promise you something better than what Christianity did. We really can't. I mean, when you die, honestly, in my perspective, when any of us dies, everything that was once us, everything that once made us who we are, immediately is reduced to a few dozen pounds of ape meat going bad. And there's nothing else you can do. The only thing that I can offer you is that the way that you were remembered for the limited time that you will be remembered is what an influence you had on other people's lives.
Well, yeah, and I see, even though I still believe in heaven, that's the thing. While I'm here, I would like to be a blessing to other people.
And you know what? If it turns out that heaven exists, that's the better philosophy anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I know. I just, I've called in a couple of times because it's kind of an ongoing battle in my mind to discover, okay, what is true? Have I been misled my entire life? And then, you watch shows on TV about, okay, forgive me, but Ghost Adventures.
No, that's fine.
So we have 13 seasons of we didn't find anything.
Yeah. And if they ever do find something, you'll know about it before the episode airs. So
right.
I want to just add that I agree with Aron that as far as people who have died already, there is nothing to really change. Whether there's a heaven or not is not contingent on whether we want to see them again. Yeah. Although I understand what you're saying about that means that this hope that I had, I have to let go of if I accept that this is not correct. But the reality is that if it's correct that there is no heaven, that means that the impact on those who have died is now nothing, right? Nothing will have changed. That's the same no matter what you believe. And so now the impact is what you have to deal with. And so then the question becomes, how does it change your life if suddenly you're robbed of an afterlife and you're told that this is the only life you have, this is the only opportunity you have? What does that do? Not for the people who have died, but for you.
It makes me mad.
Well, but I mean, what does it change about your perspective on your life now?
If that were actually the case, I'd want to live my life to the fullest, not waste it.
A lot of people see it that way. And I think that that's the most positive perspective that you can have on it. And there are some people who say, you know, that it's a good thing to learn that this life is not the welcome mat where you wipe your feet before you enter the afterlife.
I want to bring up something very, very important on this. If you decide that there's no heaven and you want to live your life to the fullest, would that mean taking advantage of people to get whatever you can and screw everybody else?
No, I'm not like that.
Absolutely not. Nobody ever feels that way. The only value that you have in your life is what impact you have on other people. The only happiness you get is the influence that you have on improving other people's lives. And as I said in a previous video, I said, if you want your life to have meaning, try making someone else's life meaningful. Because this is the way we are. We are a social species. We derive our pleasure of existence on how much we can help other people. We all want to be somebody's hero, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm hoping on my sons, but we'll see. I don't know. It's just hard for me, you know, because this is all very new to me. And I've read, because I read comments on YouTube, and some people think I'm already an atheist.
Don't ever read comments on YouTube.
I really do believe. I just don't know.
There is a hell.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. But you know what? The chat room is great. I gotta shout them out. They're great.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad they're being supportive.
They really are.
Are you following?
And I appreciate it.
Are you following the AXP chat room?
She is, apparently.
Well, you've got to be attentive.
I am. I'm on there, yeah, as OCD Traci.
That goes by fast. You really got to watch.
All right. Well, I don't know if that's helpful to you, Traci, but I hope it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted there's something better than heaven.
Well, there's something good, though, about, I mean, let's say that you were not investing in your retirement savings because you felt like there was going to be an afterlife that you needed to invest in.
Oh, my gosh.
Right?
Yes.
And you're putting your money toward that, and then somebody comes along and says, no, that's not going to happen.
I was raised by preppers. Do you know what a prepper is?
Oh, my goodness, yes.
I do not.
I was told the entirety of my youth that any minute now, all the world governments are going to collapse and we're all going to live in a road warrior type situation where we're going to have to make a gun run to the grocery store for canned goods and then disappear into the hills. This is what I was told.
Wow.
Oh, no.
I did not know that.
That's depressing.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Grief.
And then one day my mother said, you know, you should open an IRA because if you open an IRA, then when you're 75, you'll have $1 million. And I'm like, that contradicts everything you've ever told me in my life.
What's it going to matter when we're trading in canned goods and bullets? Yeah, wow. No, I don't know what to say to that.
Oh my gosh.
See, you could have been raised prepper. So there's things to be grateful for in life.
When the movie The Road Warrior came out, I honestly thought that was my future.
Yeah,
my immediate future.
They've made the movie.
Oh no.
Oh.
That's why I drove those ridiculous, horrible cars I always had.
No. So anyway, yeah. I mean, think about it as an opportunity to actually redirect your time, life, resources into something more meaningful, and that you learned it now instead of very late in life or never. I
felt like such an idiot when I realized that everything that I used to believe about people's ability to have psychic powers, ESP, and all that, I always thought there was scientific evidence for these things. And when I discovered that there wasn't, I was in my mid-30s when I realized how much of my life have I wasted believing in absolute, to borrow a word from the 1900s, poppycock.
My grandma says that.
Well, I figure the censors won't mind if I say poppycock. I don't know what else I can say.
I don't think we have censors. But,
it's not a bad word. It's not.
Not at all. Okay, so we're going to end on a high note.